In this video, I'm going to describe the last bit of this section over here. So we've started out by writing an application in the toolkit. I've deployed it locally on my machine. This application will get a REST call from, I've just used Postman. It will calculate two values, the sum, and put the answer inside an event streams that's running on IBM Cloud. Now I'm going to write this application. It's going to run an app connect on IBM Cloud. It's going to get a trigger when the message arrives in event streams. It's going to pick up the message and put that answer for me into an MQ queue that's also running on IBM Cloud. I'm going to do this where I take the raw message, putting it in there, and I'm also going to change the message and modify it a little bit. And I'm going to show a bit of the logging, what happens behind the screens, so that we can see what is happening inside the cloud platform. In this demo, I'm going to show how to consume the event streams message that was put there by App Connect Enterprise. It was running on premise. I'm going to use an App Connect application to consume it and to put that message into MQ. So I've opened my App Connect on IBM Cloud. It's the dashboard. I'm going to create a new event-driven flow. As my source, I'm going to use IBM Event Streams. Now, to create an account to connect to event streams, I'm going to click and say add a new account, and it's asking me for the VCAP service credentials. So this is actually the credentials files exactly as you see it from IBM Event Streams. Let me open up my event streams. This is my IBM Cloud dashboard. I go into services. There is my event stream service. Let's have a look at my topics. You see there's the topic I've created in the previous video. If I go to my service credentials, there's the service credentials I've created. Now if I copy this, I go back to IBM App Connect, and I just paste it in here, that complete file. Then I can say connect. And now there's 3 accounts. I can use the last one. When I say, when a new message arrives, what is going to be the topic? It actually goes out to event streams, ask event streams for all the topics available, and that is the one that I want to consume messages from. I click on that. Then I also need to talk to MQ. There's my IBM MQ account. Again, I can create a new account. From this account, I need to then go now to my MQ credentials. Now, in a previous session, I saved my MQ credentials in a file. Let me just find it. Here's the information for my queue manager. So the first thing it asks is the host name and the listener port for that queue manager. Here is the host name. And the port is 31611. The queue manager name is QM2. The username, I've created this user down here called demo 2, and there is the key for demo 2. The channel name is in that file as well. It's Cloud app. And lastly, because it's a MQ in the cloud, there's always a cipher spec, and I've used this one. And I can say connect. Now, for both of these environments, if I've got a previous connection to the same event streams or the same MQ, I actually don't have to go through the process of setting up another account. I can reuse the same account from the previous one. So what's going to happen if I'm going to put a message to a queue when this node gets access? What is the queue name? I'm going to put it to dev.queue.to. Let me just open up my MQ Explorer. Remember, I've connected my MQ Explorer on premise to my queue manager on the cloud in a previous demo. I can connect to it again. I look at the queues. And you see in the dev.queue.to there's 6 messages. So for now, let me just go and clear the queue. There you go, the queue is clear. What I'm going to put in there, my payload type is just going to be text. And I'm going to try and get the data. It understands that my previous nodes is IBM Event Stream, and inside IBM Event Stream I'm just going to have a look at the complete payload and put that payload to MQ. Now you'll see that I can start this flow. Start the flow. It is running at the moment. So let me put this up, because I'm going to watch the depth of that queue, and I'm going to use Postman to put the message to my flow that's running on premise. In the previous video, you would have seen that that is where it is running. And the data I'm going to put in there is those 2 fields. I'm going to send, and I get an answer back here. Let me see when does it pick it up and move that event message to MQ. There it is. I can right click on it, browse this message, and there is my output data. The answer is 14. It's this data that's been moved via event streams into MQ. Let me do this once more. Let me put the 7 and an 8. Send this. Refresh. There's the second one, and the answer of 15. What is also interesting to do in this area is to have a look at some of the logs that can be produced. So I'm going to stop my flow, and I'm going to give it a name, event streams to MQ. I'm going to go back to the dashboard. In my event streams to MQ, you can see I can enable the debug log let's enable it. It says debug log entries will be written to the IBM Cloud logging service. These might contain payload data and are visible to IBM operators. Don't put sensitive stuff there. Enable on next restart. I've stopped it already, so I can start it. Now let's see in the logs what's going to happen. So first I'm going to put a message. I'm going to take this one, let's make it a 9, send. Let's have a look at MQ. That message arrives. Yes, there it is. Let's go to the logs. Down here under the dashboard and catalog and so on, there's the log section. Click on logs and you can see here's my log. So here's a timestamp for, you see this is for a different flow. This is for flow event streams to MQ completed successfully. So this is the one that's enabled at the moment. And I can see there's some information in there. You can see the payload is not in there. So that's okay, but there's some information here. So how do I bring this information and actually tie it back to my actual answer? If I go back to my flow, I want to edit it. Before I can really change it, I need to stop the flow. Okay, now remember back in here when I was picking the payload here. Now if I look at the data that's available for me at that point in time, you can see there's the payload, topic, partition, event ID, event type, and so on. That's all the information, sort of the meta information around this event stream message. Now if I look at this event ID and I go back to my logs here, you see there's a transaction ID and there's a slash here. Now from a little bit of playing around, I know that this data down here is actually what they call the event ID. If I go back into my application, I want to do two things now, so I'll do it in two steps. First, I'm going to take that initial message that's coming in. Remember, my answer looks something like this. It's a JSON message. I actually want to go and pick out only that portion and display it on my message. So if I go back in here, I can add a parser between these two nodes. I go to the toolbox and there's a JSON parser down here. Inside here I can say, what do I want to parse? I want to parse my payload. Okay, and how do I need to parse it? I can supply an output schema. I can also either give it a JSON schema. I find it easier to give an example of JSON. So this is the example of my JSON that's going to come out. I copy that, I paste it in here, and I say generate a schema for me. There's a schema that is now going to use to parse the data that's sitting inside my payload. If I go back here, I can say now I don't want the payload to be written down to MQ. If I click again on find for me data, you'll see there's a second portion in here now called this JSON parser I've created up here. I can drop down in there, and I only want to pick the answer portion to go back to MQ. Now let's just run this for now and see how it works. It's running. Postman. Let's make this a 10. Send it. If I go to MQ, I refresh, and there you can see my answer now is only that bit of the data, so it's correctly parsed it out, and I can use that specific element to pass the message onto MQ. Right, so I also want to see that ID from the transaction in here. So what I can do is I want to see that answer in there. So first I need to edit it, so I need to stop my flow. Go back into MQ. Okay, if I want to write that data in a format, I can write it. This is what I would like to see in the answer. So I can go in there and say, okay, I want a structure called MQ data. In there I want a structure called answer, and in that portion I would like to go and pick answer, and for the ID I want to go and from my structure that it understands from event streams, I want to pick the event ID. Right, let's try again. Start the flow. It is running. And go to Postman, send a message, go back to MQ, refresh. And now I can see there's my structure. My answer is 17, yes, that's what I got back. And my ID is that string there ending in 927. Now guess what? If I go to the logs and I drop down here, there is that ID sitting right there. And that is the end of the demonstration. Thank you.